right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Workshop Wednesday. My name is Matt Sykes, a systems engineer here at Verify, and I'll be your host for today's workshop. Today, we're joined by Dre Divatz, another SE over here. He's going to talk about Verify system alerts. Hey, Dre, how's it going today, buddy?
Great. How about yourself, Matt?
Oh, doing quite well. Just trying to dodge the weather elements, I suppose.
Yep, same here.
Okay, so welcome everybody. So we're going to start off with a quick overview of our company and what we do. Next, Dre will lead us into a live demo to show us the ability to use system alerts within Verify to your benefit. We'll pause for Q&A and get some of your questions answered. During the demo, if you have any questions, make sure to ask them in the Q&A panel in the bottom right corner of the screen. After Q&A, we will reward one lucky attendee a $50 Amazon gift card, so hang around and see if you've won. Okay, a quick overview of Verify. Verify is the preferred analytics and management solution for Cisco collaboration. We provide industry-leading CDR, UCCX, and Cube Call analytics, customizable dashboard and widgets, remote phone control, change management, and dial plan management. But today we're going to focus on the Verify system alerts. If you have any questions on any of our other features, please feel free to chat them over to me and we'll take those offline and get them answered for you very promptly. Okay, one more thing before we kick things off. For those who are looking for a more hands-off Verify experience, we do offer a managed consulting service. This is a service that provides a dedicated Verify SE to do all the heavy lifting, giving you and your users a complete hands-off experience. Think of us as a kind of an extension of your organization. For those of you who have seen this slide before, we have removed Ninja from the name, but kept the great same service. It provides upgrades, one-on-one training, report and dashboard building and creations, or anything really you need within the Verify platform. Your dedicated Verify systems engineer has you covered. The only thing you have to do is just reach out to us. If you have any additional information, if you want any additional information on our ECS services, feel free to reach out to your account manager, and we'll be happy to assist you and see if ECS is right for you. Okay. With all of that said, I want to kick it over to Dre. Dre is going to take us into the wild and show us how to use Verify system alerts.
All right. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining. We're going to be talking a little bit about some alerting that you might not be aware of or might not have set up correctly inside your Verify system. A couple of these are going to be beneficial for you just in case something goes wrong. So first thing we want to make sure we have is our email server set up on the Verify side first. So if you go up to that gear icon top right, and we're going to go down to SMTP server. And here, you're going to set up your server, make sure that this is all correct. You can also test with an internal email address, make sure that sends out. Once that sends out, that should be good to go there. So you just set it up kind of the way that your environment would have for any other email service that you would use. So that's the most important part, making sure that we can actually send these alerts out, right? So the next thing would be to go over here. There's another tab actually right top left, email recipients. Now this is where we would add email recipients so we can pick, because you can't type in the emails when you're doing the alerting, you have to pick from a list. So here, this is where you would go in and create by hitting this add button, and you would just create the name and email address of some recipients that might need some of these alerts. Pretty straightforward. I know we do have a knowledge base article on setting up the email server as well, but it's pretty simple if you've ever set up a SMTP server before. All right, once we know that is all good and working, we're going to check on some CDR monitoring. So we're going to go up to that gear icon again, hover over that bad boy, and then we're going to go to CUCM under clusters. And we're going to have a couple of them here. We're just going to pick on our Mexico City cluster here and hit edit. And this should all look familiar to everybody. So if you scroll down a little bit, there's going to be this CDR data monitoring setting. And right now it's checked off, so it's not doing any monitoring. So all you gotta do, click this check box there. And now we're going to get some options to set up the CDR data monitoring. A couple things this is going to tell you. One is, are we receiving any data, any CDR data from the call manager? And we could set this up with a minimum call volume. Or at the same time, this could tell you, more than likely you're going to know if your phone system is down, but this could also tell you that there could be a problem with maybe one of your voice routers going down and that's not sending calls over either. Most likely, like I said, you're going to know pretty right away, but it's just another way of being able to see if we're getting any data. It's pretty easy to set up. Like I said, check mark this. Then we could pick a minimum call volume that you'd want. Usually 10 or under is usually what we pick. It just depends on how you want to do it. So how that works is, let's say we run this at 9 a.m. in the morning. And it's going to go run a check from the hours of between 8 and 8:59 and say, hey, did we have 10 calls in that hour? And if it was under 10, it's going to then shoot you an email saying, hey, we got an alert saying we're not getting CDR. You can pick the days that you'd want these to run. So if you're not open on Fridays, or I'm sorry, Saturdays or Sundays, you can uncheck those and just run them at these days. So you pick your time, pick your time zone, and then you can repeat this every 8 hours if you'd like, just to double, have another check during the day to make sure that we're getting all those call volumes. And then below, like I said, we have that list of email addresses. We would select a couple, and then all you would do is go to save. And that should go in. So we're going to go back just to double check, make sure that all came up correctly. Scroll all the way down, and there we go. So now we're set up. Looks like Brian, Edgar, and IT are all going to get an email saying, hey, if this goes below 10, we're going to get an email saying that, hey, something's wrong. We're not receiving data from Call Manager, which is very useful because we've seen many a times where sometimes the CDR services on the Call Manager just stop sending. That CDR repository manager needs to be restarted and kickstart that CDR coming back into Verify. So this is a really good way to see if that's, we're still getting the data. Pretty easy, pretty simple, but a very useful tool just because, like I said, we see that a lot where we just stopped receiving data. There's also some other causes that could happen that maybe we're not receiving data. And we're going to go into that here in just a minute. But that's all we're going to do in the CUCM cluster side. What we're going to go now to is if we go back up to that gear icon on top right and we go to application settings, there's a couple more alerts that we can set up here. So here's the top. If we scroll down here just under CDR processing settings here, you're going to see your root directory where your the main folder of CDRs going into, your processing time, things like that. But down here we have email processing errors too. If we click that on, what happened to the email address? That's weird. Is it supposed to do that? Oh, default system alert. Okay, gotcha. This is where we could pick the emails. Okay, that threw me off for a second. So here's where we're going to see if we actually have any processing errors. Maybe we're getting that CDR, but the SQL database or the database you're using stopped processing. Maybe the database went down or we're full on disk space as well. I mean, that could be another thing. So here's where you want to set up and select your emails from the list here. That's going to help you identify if this is a processing error, if let's say SQL went down. So pretty important there as well. Now, if we scroll down a little bit more, excuse me, we're going to have some repository settings we can set up as well. So if you're not familiar with our repository, these save your reports on the back end. So you don't always have to like rerun a report. You can actually go back to the repository settings and pull a report or email or a link to someone with the report instead of having to re-download the report. But we can also set up disk space alerts on the report repository settings, so we don't, so the repository doesn't get too large. So we could set these up, and usually about 1 gig at the most, sometimes a little lower, just depending on how many reports you guys are running and things. So that could be something you have to test out to say, hey, our repository is getting kind of large. Maybe we can increase the current usage on that disk. But let's say we wanted to set those up, like here again on all these. These are going to have kind of 3 separate ones here for your CUCM, CCX, and Cube reporting. You would just select your emails from the list below, and then we can add Jim on here as well. And then we can alert on the disk usage. This is where you're going to set up that alert, and you can say, hey, 80%. Once it hits 80% of this 1 gig, I want to know. So we're not using just random space on too much repository stuff. And you can do these for all these guys here, the Cube, UCCX, and UCM. All right. I think one of the most important ones, though, is going to be down here. So if we scroll all the way down to the bottom, we're going to have some hard disks management space. And I see this weekly where we don't have it turned on, and you're not getting emails, going to getting an email alert. I apologize, email alert on how much usage we're being used on a disk partition. So usually the main disk partition is going to be your root drive here, and then we can set up a minimum usable threshold. So let's say I want to see once it gets to 10, we get 10 gig left of that hard drive. I want to know. So we want to pick, Matt's personal, but we'll pick Mike. You pick on Mike for today. So these guys are going to get an email saying, hey, our disk drive just got below 10 gig. We should probably look at maybe clearing up some space, adding some disk space to the drive, or even lowering your retention policy on the database so we can clear some of that data as well. And then all you would do is save there, and then you would be good to go. I'm going to not save it, just leave this off so no one's getting alerts for some random stuff here. But those are the main ones when it comes to alerting, when it comes to system things, right? Hard disk stuff, processing, and not receiving CDR. The other thing we can do also is a little different, but we can actually get some call alerts as well. So we're going to head over to our call analytics reporting page here. And then we're going to head over to configure. And under configure, we're going to have an alerts button here. And inside this alert buttons, we can actually set up call alerts. Let's say you wanted to be alerted on 911 calls. Well, we already have one set up here, so let's go take a look at it. So we're going to click in here. Right now it's not enabled, so we're not going to get any emails regarding 911s. But what we would do is enable that guy. Call it what you would like here. Let's say we call it 911. Then let's say this was out of here. You would pick your time of day windows. Let's say all hours, because 911 is pretty important. I want to see if 911 is dialed at any time during the day. If we go to search sets, we're going to set it up like that. Well, it just depends on how your environment's set up, right? Some people use a 9 to dial out. Some people use an 8 to dial out. So we can add those as well as your original called party number and your final called party number, just to make sure we're hitting all the basis of a 911 call, right? If that makes sense, hopefully. So in case somebody dials 911, or they dial 9911, or they dial 8911. Pretty simple, but easy to set up, just to make sure we're getting all those 911 alerts. Then we go into delivery section here. We're going to have 2 ways we can actually WebEx chat those as well, but we're going to do email and select from our email list. So anytime a 911 call comes in, it's going to send it out. Now, one thing about 911 calls, it's not, right on time. So if somebody makes the call right now, we know there's going to be a little bit of turnaround time to get that CDR data over to us and process that 911 call. So I wouldn't use this as an emergency response system. I would say more of just a reporting system, knowing that when the calls are happening, what time, things like that can come into play. Depending on what your processing time is, I would say it's about a 4-minute turnaround on a 911 call, depending on if you've got 2 minutes for processing time, usually a minute for the CDR to come in from the call manager, and just a little bit of time for processing. So 4 or 5 minutes, but you should receive that alert. Now, there's a couple other things we could do as well when it comes to some call alerts. We can actually do some cause code alerts. So we're going to click on this one already made here. Call it cause code. We're going to do all hours of the day as well here. If we go over to our search sets, we're going to pick on a couple of these originating or terminating cause codes here. A couple of the ones we use that we see that are actual failures that actually could report a problem with a call or a gateway or voice gateway or something like that. A couple of these are going to be our switching equipment congestion, no circuit channel available, big one right here, temporary failure, and network out of order. So we can actually set up an alert saying, hey, we had a call, somebody just tried to make a call and one of these cause codes popped up on an inbound or outbound call. So sometimes you might want to see that. It could be important, especially for the no circuit channel available. That means you're filling up a PRI or a SIP trunk or something like that. And same thing here. You go to delivery and you can pick who you want these sent to. And we can also do some unlike some toll fraud alerts. If you go to our search set here, I think Edgar made this one for a customer a while back, but here's some toll-free numbers that they wanted to see that were either being called or calls were coming in. Just depends on what you want to see. There's a couple, things that we can do when it comes to the call alerts. All right. Matt, do we got any questions out there?
Hey, Dre. Yes, actually, as a matter of fact, we do. Fantastic job as always, though. So good to cover that. So, hello
Thanks, sir.
everyone. Matt, one more time. All right, now it's time for Q&A. So, if you have any questions related to today's content on system alerts and usage, please ask them in the Q&A panel on the bottom right, and we will address them right now. Okay, so the questions that have already come down the pipeline here. So, Mohammed and Michael both chimed in here. Interested about data monitoring for Cube CDR. Now we actually do have that in development. It is not readily available in the product right now, whereas the CUCM alerting that Dre just showcased is, but the Cube monitoring will be coming down the pipeline in the next couple of releases. That I can certainly say. And we will keep you abreast about that. So we will certainly be making announcements, probably a newsletter and stuff like that that'll showcase that logic coming down into production. All right.
That's if that was Muhammad that I know of, yes. Yeah, we are that was one thing that actually came up from his system. So that's something in development for sure. We definitely need that. So
Gotcha. Okay. Another question that was presented was by Muhammad again was, are there any costs for the feature and what verified versions have the features that you were just showcasing? The CUCM alerts and system alerts that Dre was showcasing, they've been in the product for some time now. The CUCM alerts, they've been here for quite some time. Some of the newer ones that he was showcasing in the application settings for maybe the repository thresholds and maybe the UCCX stuff as well. That's been around for maybe a handful of releases, but once again, it's been here for a little while. So definitely the Verified 12.4.2 current GA, we would recommend updating to that and take advantage of all of the newer logics that we have. But those have been baked into the product for some time. All right, another question we have here. Excuse me. So Ramiro asked that you had mentioned that no, alerts are able to go out to a WebEx chat, and yes, actually you are correct, Ramiro. You did hear that correct. We have had the chat deliverable option from Verify for alerts and reports alike for I'd say a handful of releases now. I want to say we've had that for about 6 months or so. So that capability is certainly there. We do have a webinar on that content to go ahead and set up a WebEx chatbot for another deliverable methodology for us. Let's see.
You didn't you do that?
I think I did. I was actually I
Workshop?
was
Okay, I remember you doing it. I think actually Matt did that one.
I was going to grab that that webinar link and toss it into the chat, but I'll send that out in a moment. Michael has another question here. Is there a high volume alert? Great question, Michael. That threshold alert, it is not here just yet, but that is in development as well. So for CDR thresholds as well as CCX thresholds, we will be having some logic for that in the near future. Next couple of releases, I do want to say, but the UCCX variety though, those CSQ style wall boards, we will have audible triggerable alerts in a couple of weeks for those. And I did showcase those a couple of weeks. Dre and I both did a couple of weeks ago actually on here. So great question on that, Michael. Let's see, are there, okay, and then here's Joyce. Okay, are there any system alerts for UCCX? Like I just mentioned, Joyce, yes, correct. Those will be out in a couple of weeks. The audible alerts are there. What is certainly there in the CCX widgets at this time are visual silent monitoring. So where we can illuminate, certain thresholds that have been breached via expression on those widgets, whether that's, calls waiting, calls DQ'd, agents logged in, stuff like that to the CSQ. So we have those at the moment, certainly, but the audible thresholds I think are going to be fantastic in a couple of weeks once those come out.
But Matt, it's only audible alerts, right? No email alerts from those.
Correct. The email alerts will be following in tow with the UCM CDR threshold alerts a little later on in the year. All right. Can you report on same calling number in a 1-minute span to identify possible robo-dialers? No, not yet, Ramiro. I think that's going to be lumped in as well with the threshold alerting that we do. But definitely one thing I always do to identify inbound robo-dialers is I build a kind of a top N or a top number style of widget so that we can kind of showcase that those same repeat callers that are calling into the environment that could be those robo-dialers. We can trigger alerts that's happening, but not a threshold on that just yet. All right. Joyce has one more question. What about system issues, loss of connectivity? Now, depending on what kind of connectivity is being lost, Dre did kind of mention that. So if there's a disconnection from the SQL server that we're writing the CDR files into for repository for querying and dashboard widgets, etc., that is certainly there. That would be breached off of a couple different ways. There would be a processing error that would be triggered, as well as I think a threshold would be triggered as well for X amount of data being processed into that backend SQL database over a certain time. So Dre, let's kind of maybe just gloss this over our eyes real quick.
Yeah, just this one would help out if we stopped receiving that CDR data from the call manager from the billing server. That could say that there is a connection issue, right? That could definitely a connection issue would cause this alert to go off.
Exactly. As long as the verify server instance can connect to your SMTP relay, we should certainly be able to provide those alerts to you within a matter of a couple minutes. All right, let's see in the Q&A panel here, Laura, you did post kind of a similar question that we had heard about, threshold kind of alerting with that. So once again, yeah, that'll be available in the next couple of releases, but it's not here just yet. But yeah, that threshold triggerable alerts, we do know it's needed, but that is right around the corner. Okay, any other questions? Great questions though from everyone.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll let it go another 10 seconds if there are any more. Okay, Laura says she has set up alerts for particular numbers calling and identify those robocalls. Very smart to go ahead and do that, Laura. Kind of a little reactive. Certainly, once you see those sequences of numbers, repeat dialing into the environment. Certainly, kind of as Dre showcased, we can certainly kind of build an alert around that number pattern that could be dialing in so frequently to make you aware of that. Great question. Okay, I think we're out of questions at the moment, so I'm going to take back control, Dre.
All right, sounds good. Let me send you that here.
Let's see if I
Thank everybody for the great questions. I love hearing those.
Definitely. Okay.
All right, you should be good to go.
I think I am. Oh, all right, so we're going to go ahead and share out screen 2 here. Get the annoying WebEx header out of the way. All right, so the moment you've all been waiting for. Actually, I apologize. No, we do. I'm sorry. We do want to mention also that our user community. Planet Verify, or planet.verify.com, is our new online user community that you can use to connect with your peers, expand your knowledge on all things related to Verify. Plus, you may end up with some new drink recipes from our Cantina room. It is also where you can sign up to be a part of the upcoming Verify 13.0 EFT. So go ahead and please visit that user community, register and sign up, and we'll see you over there. All right, so now the moment we've all been waiting for. And the winner of this week's workshop gift card is Joyce Tyrell. Woo! Congratulations, Joyce. Your account manager will be reaching out to you shortly to get you paid. Okay, so
Congrats, Joyce.
thank you everyone for joining. Don't forget to join us next week where Dre and Victor will provide an overview of the new features being released in Verify 13.0 due out towards the end of next month. Always a great learning experience from those two. I would like to thank you all for joining and taking the time, and have a great rest of your week, everyone. Thank you.
Have a good one, everybody.